Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 109. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we're going to be talking about Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Shazam vs. Black Adam, TMNT The Last Ronin, Mandalorian Season 3, HBO's The Last of Us, and more. So first, we're going to talk about our recent activities, which is just a bunch of recent, I guess, like online games we've been playing and whatnot. So
yeah,
I guess I'll go first this time around. So admittedly or not, I have been slowly getting back into League. Shout out to Jeffrey. He's a bad influence on me, or a good one, depending on how you look at it.
Bad influence.
But hey, like I am actually kind of having fun. I'm getting a little more emotionally invested in the games than I really should be, I'll be honest. Because I know I'm in school and I can't really play all that much. So I'm like really like into like the like 3 to 4 games that I am playing. But I am having fun. They recently just released Milio, which I think is going to be a really strong enchanter support just by their kit alone. Because, fucking Riot's always like buffing out the kits and shit. Just for context, Damian, his ulti is like an AoE cleanse, which is like
really?
insane. Yeah, and one of his abilities, the W, it increases their auto attack range.
Jesus.
And it goes up higher when you put more points into it. And I'm like, okay, all right. So we're just gonna have to wait to see exactly how broken that champion is and when Riot decides to nerf him and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm having fun, mainly because one of my main champions, Thresh, they like buffed and stuff. So obviously playing that again is a lot of fun. But there are still weaknesses to him because he's kind of old at this point, whether I like to admit that or not.
Yeah, I mean, there's like power creep in this game now, right?
Yeah.
Like other champions are kind of just not as good anymore.
Yeah,
so.
It is. Yeah. It is really weird because obviously, like for years, Thresh has been like a really like stable support champion where it's like he's like one of the most balanced like design wise, and then like they would like nerf some things about him and then they would have to buff him because of the power creep and how like new champions and other things within the game are getting added. So yeah, it is very weird. People think that he should get like a small rework, not like a total one. I do agree with that because I think his passive is like fucking useless, but it is what it is. I've also been playing Overwatch. Shout out to my girlfriend Emma because she always wants to play Overwatch, but I'm gonna indulge and try to have some fun with it, which I do. Admittedly, I do have a lot of fun playing DPS and support at times. I'm not good at tanks. I know that because I get really fucking mad when my teammates are just not healing me or something's not going right within the game because of just how Overwatch 2 is. And I'm just like, oh my God, I fucking want to quit this game and shit. But I do try to have fun with it because I could see the appeal of it where it's like it's really like a 5v5 game where like you all really have to like work together and be on the same page, or someone has to make one big play to get you guys like not even like a big advantage, like a small advantage where you guys could like push the point or do whatever. It does feel like if you guys aren't all on the same page, or if someone gets caught out and then everyone's just gonna die slowly kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, basically. I mean, the game is like very team-based and stuff. I mean, I finished my battle pass for this season, so I haven't played it in a bit because I'm like, I don't want to right now. But and it actually did recently added competitive mystery heroes, which is actually like really fun. Like I really like mystery heroes. I think that's a fun game mode. And if you put competitive, is like it just puts the rule sets from competitive, but you get like competitive points, so I could get like easy gold weapons. So I'm like, yeah, that's pretty sick. So I've been enjoying that. But yeah, like what you've been saying, the game can be very frustrating. But I think the best way to enjoy it is just kind of just playing it. If things happen, it happens. Like the game is basically impossible to play with like a bunch of other people, like random people. So you kind of just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. I try to do that, but I don't know why. I just get way too like competitively invested in like every fucking game I play. I don't know what it is with me, but I guess that's just how I am. But at the same time, I gotta like get better at it. Which speaking of, playing Destiny 2, it's just me shooting a bunch of NPCs, just not really giving a shit about anything of what's going on. I have no idea what's going on with the story. I literally skip every single cutscene because I'm just like, just let me shoot people and then I'll die to some random bullshit that I don't know. But I'm playing it as a free-to-play player right now. My girlfriend Emma, she's very much like getting into it more and more. So she was like, I almost bought the new expansion, Lightfall, right? So yes. I was like, if you think you're gonna play a lot, if I can buy it, but I'm not gonna, tell her not to, because if she's enjoying it, she's enjoying it. Me personally, I'm not going to do that yet. I know one day it's probably going to happen. I'm probably going to buy the expansions and probably dive into it more because our friend group as a whole has been playing it more. So
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about it first. I've been playing a lot of it. I've been very addicted to it again. When it first went on Steam, I put like 200 hours into it, and then I took a big break. And then I played through each of the expansions for a little bit, then just stopped. So I didn't really have that long session of playtime like it did in the beginning. But with the new expansion, Lightfall, which has been getting kind of shitted on because the story is kind of bad. I mean, I'm also not that invested in the story because a lot of things happen that you just can't experience anymore. Because it's part of like this living world seasonal model and stuff, so a lot of story beats get kind of wiped away when the next season happens, which is kind of dumb but also kind of cool, but whatever. So I don't really I kind of get the picture, but either way I think the story in Lightfall was pretty bad, but I think everything else is pretty sick. Like they added the new Strand subclass, which you could like grapple onto stuff, and it's just really fun. I really like that subclass. And I've been doing a lot of the other new stuff. Like I didn't really do a lot of Beyond Light. Witch Queen is still need to buy, just wasn't on sale. But yeah, the game's just super addicting, man. Like just getting new loot, getting more, doing the activities, doing a bunch of quests, getting more items and stuff. It's just a really fun time. And I think Bungie, I think the gunplay in it's still really goddamn good. Like it feels really good to shoot a gun in that game. Now that I'm further along in the game, I can start making better builds and stuff, and it's really fun. I'm just having a great time with it. It's just very addicting, such a big time hole. But yeah, if I still think the new player experience isn't great. Like the game again just throws you into it. Like it doesn't really explain a whole lot. So yeah, hopefully Bungie could like sort of improve that in the future. Because even when I was a new player, it kind of just throw you in there. But at least I had like the base game campaign to go through. New players don't have that anymore. They just give you like 1 or 2 missions. It's like, okay, do what you want. And it's like kind of bad. So hopefully they have a better system for that in place, because a lot of new players are apparently coming in with this expansion, so it would just help the game in the long run. But yeah, game is just super addicting. I don't know what else to say. It's super fun.
Yeah. When it comes to me as like a new player, I really had to like lean on our friend Louis, who's like sort of like telling me like what to do. Like, you have to do this, do that. I literally shared my screen on Discord. He was like, click this, click that. And I was like, okay, yeah, you know what, dude? Yeah. Tell me what to do, because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, so.
Yeah, they don't really explain things. It's less Halo and more like an MMO at times. Mm-hmm. So like, it's kind of hard to get that. Obviously I play a lot of MMO, so I know what I'm doing, but yeah, either way it could be really hard. The game's just really fun. I can't wait to do maybe harder content at some point. That'll be fun. My brother's really into the series. He's been playing it since Destiny 1. He showed me a dungeon, and that was super fun. So I'm hoping maybe to do a bit harder content. I don't know if I ever do a raid or whatever, because that's a lot of time commitment, but we'll see. So anyway, I also played the Diablo 4 beta. This was last week and this week. I pre-ordered it, so I had it last week. I know. I always enable Blizzard, but whatever. But yeah, it's really good. So it plays a little bit differently from Diablo 3. It's not as fast-paced, or I guess arcadey, as some people like to call Diablo 3. It feels a little slower. The hits feel a little meatier and stuff. Like, so I guess it's more in line with Diablo 2. It's kind of like a nice mix of 3 and 2. And sort of the big change they did is making the game sort of open world. So the game is non-linear. So in other Diablo games, you would have like 4 acts or whatever. So you complete 1 act, then you move on to the other one, and then another one. And it's like, each act has like a big map and a bunch of dungeons to go through. In this game, you already have like the whole like continent with you. And you could do any act in any order you want. So like act 1, you have to do something. Act 3 is like in another place, and act 2 is in another place. But you don't have to do act 1, 2, and 3 in that order. You could do in whatever order you want. In this beta, you only had access to Act 1, though, so, I guess I won't really see the full open worldness until I do the, when the full game comes out. But it's really cool. The world feels a lot bigger than Diablo 3. There's a lot more little collectibles to collect around. I personally really like the dungeons, how they redid them. And Diablo 3, you kind of just, you went through the dungeon real quick and then you get out. This one, there's like little objectives to do, so maybe you have to explore a little more. You can like pick up a switch and then you put in another thing. It just feels a little more engaging to me. I like the bosses a lot more as well too. Like there's like different phases to them. Some of them are like more bullet helly and stuff. So yeah, I'm really enjoying like those dungeons in the open world. The story too, I think, is like a lot better than 3. I didn't know what the hell was happening in Diablo 3, to be honest. I just thought things looked cool. It seems like they're sort of getting away from all the stories from 1, 2, and 3, and this is like sort of like not a reboot, but sort of just starting a whole new storyline. I think Lilith, the main villain, is cool as hell. A lot of the cinematics are really well done. Obviously, the CG cinematics are great, but the in-game cinematics, they actually have like different camera angles and stuff, and it's really cool because all the cutscenes in Diablo 3 were just all isometric still. This one, like, they really actually have like camera work, and it looks really good. So I didn't do much of the story besides the prologue. I basically just explored for another like 5 hours because I didn't want to ruin the story for myself. But yeah, honestly, like honestly, all the things I've been impressed by, the story was the thing I was really impressed by because I'm like, oh wow, I actually like care. So yeah, it's really good. The game looks great as well. It kind of runs not great, but they said, you know, there's no drivers for it still or anything, so I wasn't expecting like perfect optimization or whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this, and it all kind of hinges on how Blizzard does its monetization and like battle passes and stuff, because that's kind of what ruins a lot of their recent games. So yeah, hopefully this won't turn out like Diablo Immortal, which is like a pay-to-win nightmare. Hopefully it's just a normal-ass battle pass and seasons. That's fine. But I guess we'll see when the game comes out. But for right now, the core gameplay is really good, and I'm really looking forward to it. I was having a lot of fun with it, so hopefully Blizzard doesn't fuck it up. And next I have Fortnite. I don't know, did we talk about Chapter 2 Season 2? I don't think so.
I don't know, but
I think it came out. Yeah, I think it came out right after the podcast last 2 weeks ago. So whatever, I'm gonna talk about it anyway. So yeah, it's really fun. You know, Mega City and like the other points of interest are pretty interesting. I think Mega City looks really sick. I don't like it as a point of interest because I feel like there's no loot and you die instantly. The grind rails are cool. The aesthetics are really neat. I think it's fun to fight in, but I think dropping there first just feels kind of bad. I like the other points of interest still. Like I like the sort of like the Steamy Springs and some of the other areas. I think they're pretty fun to go through. And I guess like the biggest game changer is the katana. That thing is super fun. I think it's a nice mix like of the hammer's traversal, but you can still use it as a weapon. Because I feel like the hammer as a weapon, like, I don't know, I never felt too reliable to me. It's mostly just to get around. This feels like a good mix of the two, where you could like, you know, attack someone and dash into them, and it's super fun. And besides that, you know, like Aaron Yeager is going to be in it. That's cool. He's going to get out ODM gear and stuff. But yeah, honestly, I really like the aesthetic of the season. You know, I like the whole bottom part of the map now. The katana feels super fun. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I do think they took away too many augments though. Like it feels like, I know they added augments, like, you know, they added it in this chapter, but I feel like by the time season 1 was over, there was a bunch of really cool augments to get. Now I feel like they took out like half of them, and now it's like, oh, it's kind of boring again, because I feel like I get the same like 4 augments every game now. So hopefully they add more throughout the season. But yeah, so far I've been very happy with this season. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the augment stuff, which was like one of the nicest changes that they made in Fortnite recently. You know, it's kind of like perks in Call of Duty where you get like a nice little buff or a nice little, you know, tag when you hit someone with your AR or whatever. So yeah, and it seems like a lot of the cooler ones that they added are taken away, unfortunately. But you know, Mega City, it is a cool spot to go to, but not drop in. I would also agree on. The grind rails are cool. The katana, I think, like you said, same thing, nice balance. It doesn't feel broken as like a traversal thing, and it also doesn't feel broken to like fight it either. But yeah, you know, the new Fortnite season, you know, it's same old shit. It's definitely a lot of fun. I haven't updated and I haven't played since they recently dropped the Creative 2.0 thing, which like some crazy shit has been going on. I know that someone made like the whole like old Fortnite map and like the old seasons and stuff. Yeah. So I wonder how those work, because those seem like a lot of fun.
People have already been porting like Mario 64 into it. I don't know if you could put that up there, but apparently you could do that. So that's cool. Yeah. It looks like, you know, Epic wants Fortnite to be sort of like Roblox, where it could be like a bunch of different games in one. And yeah, I really need to check out those new creative stuff, because it looks really cool. Like Epic made like 3 of them. There's one that just looks like Call of Duty, and the other 2 are like sort of single player like sort of things. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to check those out, so I could talk about it next time. But yeah, Epic's definitely been going ham on Fortnite, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's actually crazy, because I saw a tweet that was like, there needs to be a study to see like how does Fortnite stay relevant for as long as it has been, because it's actually like fucking crazy, right? I know the original creative mode, that's something that I never really touched. You know, it's only something that I really go into for like the Kid Leroy missions or whatever the fuck is going on, right? But now it seems like that is something that's like actually like a viable like thing to do within the game for me anyways. Obviously like there were kids out there that were playing like the like the racetracks or whatever the hell was going on in those modes, but the creative 2.0 stuff looks really, really cool. So
yeah, and I think creative stuff is always really important for games to have long-term like life, I guess, because I love those creative maps and like things like TF2 and stuff where you could like, here's Mario Kart and like TF2, why not? And I think that was super cool. So if Fortnite have that same sort of things going on, I think it's gonna really boost the longevity of this game even longer than it ever had been. So yeah, Fortnite I guess can't fall off, so that's cool.
All right, so now we're going to get into the news within the industry. First, gaming news. So first up, we got, according to Tony Todd, who is the voice actor of Venom in the newest Spider-Man Insomniac game, Spider-Man 2, it is going to come out in September. Obviously, something that you probably shouldn't be tweeting out. I think the tweet itself has been deleted. But the tweet itself stated, looks like September, massive publicity coming in August, commercial start dropping in August. So I'm told, hold on to your blank, blank, blank and hold your and hold breath, gonna be necessary. So obviously that's been deleted. And then he posted like a picture of him like underwater and shit, like sort of like lips sealed. And I'm like, this shit is so funny. But yeah, it seems like that he is leaked, I guess, like the release month now. Whether or not that stays in September, who knows? I know that there was some other stuff about like this game's gonna have like new dialogue technology or whatever, which we don't know if that's true yet, but that also seems pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, obviously me and Damian are huge Spider-Man fans. We both love the first game, and I cannot wait to see, I guess, whatever huge publicity stuff they're going to do in August.
I actually really like it that, obviously we knew about this game for like a year, Ravi, but it's nice that, it seems like a lot of games are doing this now where they don't really hype themselves up as much until like the month later. And I think that's working for a lot of these bigger games benefits because, a lot of people go through the hype cycle, people get disappointed when it's not exactly what they want. So I think doing the whole hype cycle literally a month before the game comes out feels a lot smarter at this point for a lot of game publishers and developers. And obviously I'm really excited for this game as well. I mean, I don't really need much more to be sold on it besides, oh yeah, it's a sequel to Spider-Man, so that's fine. Same with Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I don't really need that much more. Besides, I would like a little more, but yeah, I'm basically happy with it just being a sequel to a game I really, really like. So yeah, I think that's pretty sick.
Like it's honestly, it's kind of hard for Insomniac to mess this up because they've already done 1.5 games at this point. You can say 2, including the DLC that they've done, but they've done a lot of Spider-Man at this point, and they kind of know where they want to go with it. There was a quick thing where like Hasbro like did the wrong description for like a upcoming Marvel Legend figure for the game of the Miles Morales, and it was like across the multiverse, he's gonna discover new allies and enemies, and people were like, "Uh-oh, is this game gonna have multiverse?" But obviously that was fixed quickly. So on that topic, like when should they introduce the multiverse within the games, if at all? In my opinion, I think that it should not happen. I feel like that this story that they're doing in this world that they're setting up, there really isn't room or any space for there to be like a multiverse Spider-Man sort of story here. Unless if they're able to get like, I guess like the old models or like the old like characters and stuff from like the other games. But even then, I feel like that's not needed. Like that's not something that I want within my Spider-Man games, especially within Insomniac Spider-Man. I feel like that this game and the story that it's trying to tell is obviously close to the comics, but at the same time, very different from the comics as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's not really needed. I feel like we have a lot of multiverse stuff already. And, Sonic Right did that with Ratchet, and now Marvel is still doing that with the MCU. So I feel like we don't need another multiverse story at the moment. I'm okay with just a classic Spider-Man stuff for Venom or whatever Sonic wants to do. So yeah, I mean, I would be okay if they did like a separate game. Some other studio does like a separate Spider-Man thing with multiverse. That's fine. But like, I feel like, let Sonic cook like what they're doing. That's fine. I would kill for like a Spider-Verse game or something like, with those like stylized graphics. That would be so cool. But like an Ultimate Spider-Man from like the PS2, like that would be sick. But let Insomniac do what they're doing. Anyway, I feel like a multiverse plot and something it seems like is having a lot of things that Ravi wouldn't sit well. Like we're Ravi dealing with Venom and a bunch of other stuff from the first game. I just feel like there would be no room for like multiverse shenanigans, So hopefully that's not true. Probably isn't. That's probably for Spider-Verse 2 anyway. For that Miles figure, I guess they just messed it up or something.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's not true because it's just there's no room for that. That's like a lot of plot. I mean, I thought Spider-Man 1, I really enjoyed the story of Spider-Man 1, but there was a very lot of things going on in that game. So like, I feel like, just keep it chill, like we don't need that many plot points.
Yeah, just, keep doing what you're doing, Insomniac.
Yeah, please. Obviously I love them. So, and they can't mess it up. So yeah, very excited for that. So our next thing here is Naughty Dog's next game has already been decided. Basically, it's not going to be Last of Us 3 because, hold on, let me here. Yeah, Neil Druckmann was like, I know fans really want Last of Us Part 3. I hear about it all the time. Decision has already been made. Can't say what it is. We picked the thing we were most excited for. So, I don't know. To me, that sounds like not Last of Us 3 because he's like, yeah, I know you guys want it, but we're doing something else. And I'm pretty sure they said they were starting to work on a new IP anyway. So that would make the most sense. I still think we're probably going to get Last of Us 3, and maybe that'll cap off that series. Because Naughty Dog likes to do that, like, they might have a series still running for a little bit more when a new IP is announced, and then they sort of like end it, and then that one is still, you know what I'm saying? So, Uncharted did that to Last of Us, and then, yeah, so it's probably going to end up being the same deal, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious as to what they actually decided to land on. It does seem like it's not going to be The Last of Us Part 3 as of right now anyways. Whatever next game that they decide to work on, whether it's a brand new IP or they go back to one of their older ones. I hope it's not Uncharted, maybe Jack and Daxter, who the fuck knows, but
let's go. Probably not though.
Whatever they do, I'm sure that it is going to be good, no matter what the public reception is of Naughty Dog after Part 2. The success of The Last of Us HBO show has shown that, hey, the creative minds and the creative forces behind what goes on at Naughty Dog are still there, and they know how to make good stuff, how to make good stories, and obviously good stories create good games. So hopefully that when the time is right, when we see this game, people are going to be excited for it. Obviously, people are going to be excited for it either way because people love Naughty Dog. People love the games that they make. If it has the Naughty Dog sort of, I guess like development stamp on it, people are like, okay, yeah, like my eyes are on it. I'm gonna see what this game is about, and that's sort of what happened with The Last of Us, and it's probably now their biggest game ever because of the show and everything like that.
Yeah, I do wonder how they're gonna sort of what the gameplay is gonna be like. I wonder if it's gonna be the same sort of cinematic action adventure thing like Uncharted and Last of Us is, or if it's gonna be like a whole different genre, like a FPS or something. Because Naughty Dog sort of like set the trend for a lot of Sony games to be like third person, more cinematic, and obviously I don't mind that. I know a lot of people on Twitter hate that. When I play a Sony game, I kind of expect them to be like that, and I really enjoy them. It's kind of like Nintendo games not being all colorful and stuff. I'm like, well, I kind of expect them to be like that, so it's fine. But I do wonder if Naughty Dog is going to sort of take a new approach, if they're going to like do something totally different genre wise or whatever. It's gonna be very interesting to see what they do because their last new IP was Last of Us, which was like 2013. So it's been like 10 years since they've done anything new, I guess. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where they go and maybe how it sets the future for Naughty Dog. Since I know when Last of Us Part 2 came out, it's been a lot of controversy over there. Whether you think that game is good or the working conditions and all that. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be very interesting to see how Naughty Dog sort of approaches this in the future, since they probably are Sony's biggest studio at this point, like in terms of like critical reception and just like just sales and stuff, like their system sellers and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they go about this. So yeah, very interesting.
All right, so next bit of news we got here is James Gunn officially is directing the new Superman movie. So we knew that he was writing for it, but it looks like that writing, I guess, the movie has now turned him into director as well. So yeah, I mean, that is pretty exciting. I think that a lot of people love it when James Gunn is doing all of these superhero projects, especially because he sort of made his name with Guardians of the Galaxy, and then obviously stuff happened where he was quote unquote canceled, and then he went on to do the Suicide Squad, and now the Guardians 3 movie's coming out, and then he also did the Peacemaker show and everything like that, and everything he's done so far has been pretty good. So I think that people now seeing him as like the head of DC Studios, and on top of that he's directing and writing for a lot of these projects, it's like this can be some like really good stuff that can rival or even be better than the MCU, because the MCU has been sort of plateauing lately. People are getting tired of it, superhero fatigue even. So I hope that whatever he's cooking over there with this Superman movie is really, really good. And he also shared that it is coming out July 11th, and he didn't even notice that, but that is his dad's birthday. So that is pretty cool.
Yeah, honestly, if there's any time to sort of overtake the MCU, it's probably now, since they've, the MCU is kind of in a rut right now. Like, not a lot of people are really feeling it right now. The movies have been, if you think they're mediocre and stuff. So, I think James Gunn could really come in and do a big sort of like sweep of them with, all these new DC projects and see how that goes. Obviously, The Flash is apparently the best thing ever. So I guess we're going to see how that goes when that comes out. And maybe that'll set the tone for where the DCU is going next. And if I know he wasn't really working on that yet, right? Because, he wasn't even a part of that, because that movie's been in development for so long. But, that is going to set sort of the standards, I guess, going forward for the DCU. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all comes together and stuff. And again, I'm personally not a big Superman fan. Like, I don't really care. But if James Gunn could make me care, then honestly, that would be a really big testament to see how well he does his movies. 'Cause I really love Guardians. I love the Suicide Squad. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how his interpretation of Superman comes about, since he's been doing a lot of big changes a lot of people don't like with Superman. Obviously, right, we've already talked about that last podcast. So he has a lot to prove with this movie, because people are still kind of mad about that. So if he can prove this, his direction for Superman and DCU is good, then then I guess that's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah, and I think that it's also like kind of like a double-edged sword kind of thing, because he is like the head of DC Studios, but on top of that, he has his hand in a lot of these projects. So at the same time, it's like, if this whole project fails and like some of these movies and shows are just straight garbage, and it's going to fall on him, and his name and his reputation within the industry is just going to fall and collapse. And I hope that doesn't happen, because I really do think that James Gunn knows what he's doing, and he loves these stories, he loves these characters, and I hope that he is able to do this movie and everything else justice, because I'm honestly like very, very excited to see where he goes, pulling from the DC comics and everything like that.
Yeah, so hopefully he has a big understanding of how important all this is, because again, DCU is in a rut, which I guess kind of ties into whatever the next thing we're going to talk about here is. This sort of like hopefully the last sort of drama that's going to happen with the DCU, but I think we talked about this before with The Rock, Black Adam, how he wants to be the sort of the center of the DCU, or he wanted to be the center of the DCU and sort of like, be best buds with Superman and stuff. That was sort of his vision for the DCU. And apparently, there's been some drama where Shazam was supposed to show up in the post-credit scene of Black Adam, but The Rock didn't want that, so it didn't happen. And now in a tweet, Zachary Levi was like, hey, this is kind of true, but he's like kind of being weird about it. So yeah, it probably was true. I mean, The Rock has been super weird about Black Adam. Like, he wanted to be like sort of the star, I guess, of the DCU. Like, he thought his face would save it and stuff, and he got full creative control. Obviously, that didn't work out because, I'm pretty sure Black Adam didn't do very well. And then Shazam did even worse. So that's pretty bad. So yeah, hopefully this is like the last drama from this era of the DCU, because it's been really bad. And honestly, in my bingo card, I didn't have The Rock trying to take over DCU on it. So yeah, I guess I'll give it to him for that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, this is just one report and sources saying X, Y, and Z. And obviously, Zachary Levi sort of coming out and being like, yeah, guys, this is true. We got to remember that he did say some controversial stuff about the vaccines and whatnot. So maybe his word isn't 100% to be trusted. But hey, it really is like a battle of he said, she said until even The Rock comes out or even DC makes a statement, which I highly doubt any of those things are going to happen. But I guess we'll wait until next episode to see what the fuck happens there. But with this whole situation, I'm not surprised that The Rock tried to sort of stronghold his way into becoming like the star of the DCU, even though he is Black Adam as like a, villain in a way, It's The Rock. He is one of, if not the biggest stars within Hollywood. And I guess he's kind of hard to work with. And maybe his ego sort of gets to his head. And I mean, can you really blame the guy for it? He really does push people to get into theater seats, and he does push ticket sales. Even though Black Adam didn't profit financially, it did make a pretty decent amount of money. I think it broke even. Not entirely sure. I'm just spitballing here. But I feel like the movie Black Adam was okay from like a movie standpoint, and then within the box office it broke even. And then for Shazam 2, which I still want to see, it's not doing so well right now. It is considered to be worse than the first movie, which like, is it all that surprising? Not necessarily. I mean, most of the trailers, I said that I was kind of excited for it, but at the same time, it did look like more of the same with like a storyline that I wasn't really following from like a casual, I guess like Shazam fan, not even one actually. I really only I really only know him from the movie, so it's kind of like, like what's going on here. But if the story is true that The Rock blocked sort of having certain characters show up within the post-credit scene of Black Adam to sort of set up the Shazam versus Black Adam fight, that is kind of weird, and sort of being like, hey, you know what? Let's get a Superman, Henry Cavill, and, we'll have that thing, which like doesn't necessarily make sense either. But at the same time, it did get people hyped and excited for, whatever was coming up next for the DC movies until, it all sort of just fell apart and got canceled. But yeah, whether or not I believe this story is yet to be seen. I am not surprised that these stories are coming out, and I'm not exactly 100% sold on any of them.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I'm like, oh yeah, Black Adam was Shazam's villain. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, wow, yeah, why wasn't he there? Yeah, well, man, that actually took me a second to actually think about that. I'm like, oh yeah, wait, what?
Yeah, it is a bit of a strange situation.
Yeah.
All right. So next bit of news we got here. Marvel VFX president Victoria Alonso is fired. According to this Variety article, it was sort of just like blindsided. She had no idea what was happening. Kevin Feige had no hand in it. He didn't really interfere with the firing either. So, and people are saying that she was like the main reason why a lot of like the VFX problems at Marvel were going on. If you were on her bad side, you really wouldn't get work. But then there's like the other side of the argument where it was like she was never like that. She was honestly one of the people that was trying to like make things better. So we don't really know what's going on here until one party or another comes out, and I think whichever one comes out first is going to be the strongest. So if Alonso and her representatives want to come out and say, X, Y, and Z happened, whatever, then that's what most people are going to believe. That's just how the news cycle works, unfortunately. Like when something happens and there's two parties involved, whichever party comes out first is going to be the one that most people believe if they're convincing enough anyways. And then the second party is usually the one that isn't as loudly outspoken on the news waves. Yeah,
it's very interesting since, Marvel has been gaining the most criticism because of the VFX and stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see, like, sort of in the future, if more things come out with this, like maybe it was all her fault or whatever. Because I think a lot of people could agree with, like, the visual effects of a lot of Marvel stuff have been a little weaker, over the past few movies and shows and stuff. And I don't think that's necessarily the VFX team's fault. It's more just like Marvel just pumping out so much content and they just don't have enough time to, like, finish up the VFX and stuff. But, I don't know whose fault that really is. Like, I don't know if it's her fault for being like, oh, yeah, we could handle that. Or if it's just Marvel just being like, just do it anyway. So, yeah, I don't really know. There's some, like, I read the article and some people were like, oh, yeah, she was the one that was doing everything. And then some of the Marvel reps are like, no. So I don't really know yet. I'm going to wait for a little more things. I'm probably going to side more with the VFX teams and stuff where they're like, yeah, she's probably working us too hard and stuff, which is fair. And she probably did get fired because of that, plus the lackluster reception of the last few movies and stuff because of the VFX. Like, the VFX has been such a prime, like, criticism for a lot of these movies recently. So it would make sense that we'd get rid of the person in charge of all of that. So, yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that much. So, yeah, I guess we're going to have to see, like, how, like, who was really to blame for all this. I mean, either way, I think they were pumping out too much content anyway. Like, I'm glad they're sort of slowing down, like, maybe. It's not just the VFX either. Like, it is like some of the scripts and stuff and like the stories. I feel like a lot of things might be a little too rushed, or maybe things could use a second draft or something. So hopefully this time for everyone is just better, because I think Marvel has been putting out too many things recently. So it's good that they're sort of slowing down a bit.
Yeah, it is definitely whether it was the work that was put out and she was, sort of leading that, or if it was just how she actually treated the VFX artists. And there was maybe just way too many claims from like the VFX artists, and they were sort of, they were like, oh shit, well, maybe we should fire her and then see if anything changes, kind of thing. Because obviously, like, if it starts at the top, you kind of have to go from there. You can't really, get new VFX artists because there's only so many within the industry that can work at the Marvel Studios sort of level of what they're looking for. And, if she's one of, if not the main problem of it, you kind of have to let her go. And it's only sources that are telling this information, so we don't know what's true and what's not. But fact of the matter is that she's not at Marvel anymore. So,
yeah. So hopefully things could get better. I don't know. We'll see. Because, I guess MODOK's face was just, that was it, man. we couldn't deal with that.
God damn it.
All right. So now we got an update about Justin Roiland. Apparently all charges against him have been dropped. So the charges were like from his, I believe, ex-wife, who was reporting that, he was abusing her and like domestic abuse and stuff. So those were the charges that got dropped because there wasn't enough evidence for it. And Justin Roiland on Twitter, he did like a whole post, not post, but like a whole thing here, basically saying, don't be quick to judge. I've been canceled. Even though like the case has been settled legally, like his name is ruined forever, and he's going to be focusing on moving forward on his creative projects and restoring his good name. So obviously these charges being dropped, I think that's sort of like the biggest pressing issue for him. But I still feel like a lot of things came out when that stuff came out that still kind of paints him in a bad light. He was saying a lot of weird things about minors in some podcasts. Like it was just really weird. I mean, you can look it up. It's just there still. So that, that's still creepy. He had a bunch of other things that are still alleged against him. So, if you want to like sort of forgive him, I guess that's fine. But like, I still don't think he's going to be a really good person regardless. So yeah, that's kind of up to you. It's going to be interesting to see, like, I mean, he's out of Rick and Morty, like he's not coming back. So yeah. I wonder what he's actually going to do, since his whole brand identity was Rick and Morty. Like a lot of the shows he made had that same sense of humor and had that same art style. So I wonder if he could just do that again. Like, can he just do that? I don't know. So it's going to be very interesting to see where he goes from here, since, like I was saying when we talked about this before, he was getting really big. Obviously Rick and Morty was huge. He was doing a lot of different shows. He just made Squanch games that released High on Life and stuff. Like he was on the top. Now he's both the way in the bottom again. So I wonder how this is going to work out for him, or if people even care anymore. So yeah, because Rick and Morty is still going to be Rick and Morty even without him. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna see how all this plays out. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to the reply of the Twitter post that he made to sort of be like, hey, don't be so quick to cancel me. And I guess like his statement after everything that happened. The main thing that people are bringing up are like the DMs that he sent to a minor in like 2015.
Yeah.
And some people are saying that they're fake, this, and that, but he didn't mention them in his statement at all. So he only mentioned the obviously the legal case that is going on with the ex that have now been dropped because of the lack of evidence, which is unfortunate. But he's already out of everything, like
right.
He kind of does have to start from square one. And I think that these stories that were coming out after everything that was going on and everything was made public, the fact that he hasn't really been hands-on with Rick and Morty, and the fact that him and the other creator, I forget his name, I'm sorry, of Rick and Morty have not been on speaking terms. Yeah. They have not been on speaking terms for a while, and sort of you can tell when one episode was written by Dan and one episode is written by Justin, and some people are making fun of this statement because it shows that he has not written in a while, which is kind of funny. But I'm not going to sort of say that he's lying or anything, because obviously like that's sort of like a big thing to say, but I am not believing him is what I'm saying. Right. I think that there's definitely more to his past and sort of what he's done with other people. And yeah.
Yeah, I guess legally, like, yeah, he didn't do any of this. Like, if there's no evidence, I guess whatever. But there's still like a lot of things that makes him like really sus, even if it wasn't for like domestic abuse or whatever. Mm-hmm. Again, you could just look up those podcasts he was in saying those like really weird things. So like that still makes me feel kind of icky. I'm like, I don't know about you anymore. So yeah, and I guess that kind of translates over to Rick and Morty with a lot of his jokes and stuff, where it's like, oh, haha. But now it's like, oh, that probably came from like weird stuff. Also, there's like a lot of incest in like Rick and Morty, and it was really weird. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, maybe you're just kind of a weirdo, and yeah, I'm okay with you not being in anything anymore. So yeah, it's okay.
So we'll see how successful or unsuccessful his redemption arc is.
Yeah.
All right, so the last bit of news we got here is probably the most exciting one, and the one that has been taking over the news waves recently. So apparently, the TMNT Last Ronin comic is getting a big action RPG in the similar vein of God of War, a AAA game, and Paramount is sort of looking for a studio to work on it. So, I mean, just that concept in and of itself is fucking exciting for me personally. To anyone that doesn't know what the Ninja Turtles Last Ronin comic is, just to sum it up, I haven't read it personally, but I know what it's about, and I have every single issue, and I have the actual like graphic novel as well, so I could read it all within one go. But anyways, The Last Ronin is about one Ninja Turtle that has survived, and it pretty much is about them trying to save New York from the Foot Clan, and I'm pretty sure that's about it. You obviously see how other characters within the Ninja Turtles universe have survived, adapted, whether they're alive or dead, etc., etc. Like I said, I haven't read it myself, but I know that this is like one of, if not one of the best stories within the Ninja Turtles history. And that's exciting. It's definitely one of the more darker ones, obviously, because the 3 other turtles are fucking dead.
Wait, which one is this? Who survived?
I ain't saying, bro. This is
okay. It's supposed
that's
to be
a
like
spoiler. That's a spoiler.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was like a thing. Okay.
I believe you find out within the first issue, anyways.
Okay.
But yeah, it is a pretty crazy story, and I think that if this is executed properly, this can be a really, really good game. Like I said, just from the concept itself, the fact that it's going to be a big AAA game, it's going to draw influence from like God of War games and shit like that. Fuck it, I'm in. I think that a lot of the Ninja Turtles games have been, all about like the 80s Turtles, all about, the goofy, wacky, colorful stuff. And if we could go and get one that's really dark and really gritty, I mean, like, I'm down for it, because the original Ninja Turtles comic was really dark and gritty. Fucking Shredder dies within the first issue. Yeah. I think that them adapting this story in particular, especially because it is so new, they can really capitalize on this and really, make something even bigger.
Dude, I'm also surprised that TMNT is like still just as big as it is. It's such a stupid concept, but I'm so happy it's still like around. And it's been doing great recently. Like, there's been a lot of good TMNT stuff, and this sounds great. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of The Last Ronin. I might have before, but just the concept of it like being a AAA sort of like TMNT game that's inspired by the newer God of War games. I mean, that sounds pretty sick. So yeah, I'm all down for that. Hopefully it's good. They don't have a development studio yet for it, or they don't, like, they're not naming them yet, so we don't know who's this being made by. I don't believe so. Yeah, we don't know yet. So I'm sure we're gonna see a trailer for it at some point, maybe in the Game Awards or something. But either way, this sounds really cool, and hopefully they're able to do it. I know recently, like, it's really cool to have a lot of these, I guess bigger franchises get sort of like the good games they deserve, like, I know Hogwarts Legacy is a big topic, but that a lot of people like that game. Obviously Spider-Man and now TMNT and stuff. It's nice to have like these licensed products have really good AAA sort of treatment. So hopefully this will stick the landing, because this sounds really sick, honestly. And it looks like you can use like all the turtle weapons, because just from this picture, this turtle has all of them. So yeah, I don't know who fucking dies, or all of them die, but that's pretty sick.
Yeah, it is honestly like a really cool concept just for a story, and I'm glad that they were able to execute it. And I believe they also had the original writers, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, on for the story as well. So
yeah, that sounds sick.
All right, so now we're going to talk about Mandalorian Season 3, Episodes 3 and 4, for full spoilers, by the way. So if you haven't watched them, and you don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us now and skip to the HBO stuff. But if you want to be spoiled and you know what's about to go down, just keep listening. So Mandalorian Season 3, obviously a lot of has been going on, and a lot of discussion has really gone on just because of the fact that a lot of the Mandalorian development went on within the Book of Boba Fett, like we talked about it within last episode. And it seems like that they're doing that within this show as well, where they're not developing Mando, and they're sort of focusing on other side characters, which I think is fine for a certain extent of the episode. But I think within episode 3, they might have went a little bit too far with it. I think that revealing to us that I don't even know what her character name is, but
right, I forget. I don't know. When did she show up? Because I remember the scientist guy. I don't remember her like at all. Like she was in season 2 or something. I don't even remember.
I believe she was in season 2. She was under Moff Gideon, which was like a big thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't remember anything else. You know, I recognize her face, and I'm like, okay, she was in the show before because she was in the recap. But other than that, I'm like, who the hell is this?
Yeah.
But, you know, seeing like that scientist guy sort of get used to like the new republic and how strict it is, and him sort of doing his like mundane everyday job, you know, like that was fine. And then us getting to the part of her like betraying him, all of that stuff, everything really could have just been faster, just like a little bit, in my opinion. You know, I get that they sort of want to build it up and sort of have like that moment be like, oh shit, she betrayed him. But it's like, she was under Moff Gideon, you know, like it was already on the walls, like the paint was already there. It's just like we just had to get there kind of thing.
Yeah. I just felt like it took a really long time to get to that point. Also, for developing characters, I don't know if they're gonna do more of them or not, but I mean they probably are, but I still feel like it's kind of a lot of time to be taken away from like the actual characters that matter. Like, I wouldn't mind a whole thing maybe on like Grogu, like maybe a main character or a more important side character, but like, oh, here's the scientist dude and this lady that I forgot who she was. So yeah, I don't know. It just feels like a lot of time to be taken away from like things that would matter more, unless she's gonna end up being the primary antagonist. Since, you know, I feel like the main problem with this season of Mandalorian is, you know, everything I said last podcast, where I just felt like a lot of the good plot points were rushed in 2 episodes of Boba Fett, and now the series just feels a little aimless at the moment. Like we don't really know what's going, like, you know, he already bathed in the living waters, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're already done with that, and now we're kind of just doing, and you know, I know Mandalorian already had a bunch of fetch quests, like that's kind of what the series is known for a lot of the time, but I feel like season 1 and 2 were building up an overarching plot for the season to begin with, like early on too, like with like them sort of defending the town in season 1 and then all the stuff in season 2. Like there was still like an overarching plot happening. And this one, I feel like things are just kind of happening at the moment. So it feels kind of aimless. And like, I've been seeing this a lot. Like there's no urgency right now. Like it's just kind of whatever. So yeah, like I'm still enjoying it, but I do feel like, you know, what's going on here? Like they hint that Moff Gideon like escaped or something, but we're not really seeing that. It's just kind of gossip right now. So I don't know if that's true. So yeah, it does feel really kind of aimless at the moment.
Like we have no idea what's gonna happen by the end of the season. I don't even think the writers know. But you know, like if they are gonna do something with Moff Gideon later on, I think that if this episode focused on him and sort of what happened at the end of season 2, I think people wouldn't have mind, just because one, Moff Gideon's cool, and two, the actor who plays him is like really, really good. So I think that seeing more screen time of him, people would not have mind. But seeing these, I guess, like 2 no names in the grand scheme of things, no offense to them, it's just that a lot of people, us included, sort of forgot who they were as characters, and sort of being reintroduced to them in the middle of episode 3, and they take up like 40 minutes of the episode, probably left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And I hope that they aren't taking shit on social media, because I know Star Wars fans tend to do that a lot. But you know, this is probably the worst episode of the season so far. We're only 4 episodes in, but I hope this is the lowest point, because even then this isn't like that bad in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, but like you said, if this episode was like 40 minutes of Moff Gideon like escaping prison, I think that would have been way more interesting than this. One, it would have established like a threat for the season, and then, you know, 2, was just more entertaining because he's like the main antagonist of this like series, I guess. So I felt like that would have been a lot better than whatever this is. It seems it's kind of hinting that too. Like, I guess she wants the information from the doctor guy for the cloning because Moff Gideon wants it, and she's still under him and stuff, I guess, is what they're going for. So yeah, but yeah, that's about all I got from this. And you know, we got a little bit of the beginning and end with Mando and Bo-Katan doing stuff, and that was cool. But yeah, that was about it. So
yeah, I mean, just getting into episode 4, you know, with Bo-Katan, you know, sticking around for as long as she is, I'm like, when is she gonna leave? You know, because like I feel like I'm a casual Star Wars fan, just like to preface, but I feel like when I saw Bo-Katan within the Clone Wars and within this show, she was very much like against, obviously, like what the Mandalorians stand for, where like, you know, what's the saying that they say?
This is the way.
Yeah, this is the way.
How do you forget? They say it like every Tuesday.
Yeah. I feel like that she's just like against all of that shit. But like for some reason, like she's now like warming up to it, which I hope like, they give us a reason as to why she's opening up to it now, other than the fact that she's just with Mando. I get it that like, she's been on her own and sort of like doing her own thing for a while. So maybe that could be a part of it. But obviously like her getting accustomed to everything else, I thought was pretty funny because she's like, how do you guys eat? Like, what the fuck's going on? And then everyone just sort of like scatters to like their own corner. I was like, this shit is ridiculous.
Yeah. That's why the Mandalorians are extinct because like they're dumb, but it's very funny. But yeah, it's also kind of weird. It's kind of going the opposite direction I thought it was going to go, where I thought Mando would be like, this shit's dumb, but now he's like more into it, and now Bo-Katan's like, okay, I guess I'll join you in it. So it's kind of going the opposite direction I thought it was gonna go. But I thought that episode was fine. Like I like the the action stuff was cool, seeing all the Mandalorians do their stuff. I think the Grogu stuff is probably the most like important for this. Yeah. Since we see his backstory more of the Order 66 thing, and then that Jedi like saving him and stuff. So that was really cool. And so I guess Grogu started becoming like this weird Jedi Mandalorian thing. So that's going to be kind of cool to see. It just sucks that Grogu would probably like never not be a baby because, he's like a Yoda race person. And like, he's going to outlive everyone. He'd probably still be a baby. So that's a little disappointing. But I still think they do a good job sort of making Grogu have like a character. Wow. Because he's a fucking baby, so it's like I'm like, how engaging could this character be like later besides being cute? But I think they do a good job doing that. Like I think you can see the emotion in his face and how I guess Order 66 affected him and how I guess he's happy to be a Mandalorian and stuff. So I think that stuff they do really well. But yeah, it was more like a sort of like a what do you call it? A backstory episode. Jesus, backstory. Yeah, what the hell? But yeah, it was so entertaining. I liked it a lot more than episode 3. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing that Grogu backstory was definitely the highlight for a lot of people. Not just because obviously Grogu's cute, but seeing that where it all started. Obviously, fucking every single Star Wars property loves going back to Order 66 for good reason, because it is like
it's a good moment. Well, bad moment, but yeah,
good and bad moment. It's definitely one of the most pivotal moments within Star Wars history. So going back to it over and over again, there's just so many stories that you can tell from it, and I think that them doing it here makes sense, especially since because Grogu was, I guess, supposed to be a youngling, and the Jedi that saves him is actually the original voice actor for Jar Jar Binks, which is like
shit, really?
Like kind of crazy. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, well, that is so weird. But hey, like that is like a pretty good cameo. I maybe like redeeming his status within the Star Wars community, I hope. But yeah, I mean, I think that part of the episode where I guess Grogu was just chilling around and then he got fucking like a PTSD flashback. I was like, oh shit, what the hell's going on? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think that it's still doing like the fetch quest thing. There's no obviously like you said, like sort of like immediate threat going on. There's not like an overarching story yet. So I hope that within these next few episodes there is something there, because I feel like the show already doesn't have like a huge audience because it has been advertised as well. But on top of that, people have to watch the Book of Boba Fett, just like the last couple of episodes, to like understand what the fuck is going on. Yeah. And it really does make the ending of season 2 a lot less impactful. So, the show does feel a little sloppy and everything like that. But I hope that we're able to hopefully clean it up soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like they fumbled the bag so hard with the Boba Fett stuff, and it really hurt this. Again, I'm still enjoying it. Like, I still like a lot of plot points or whatever. But yeah, I just felt like things should have definitely been saved for season 3, because it just now I'm seeing like, yeah, it's hurting season 3 a lot more than I wanted it to, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, they should have saved all of this for that. And again, not have like a 40-minute like thing with characters that or whatever. Unless they make them really important in the future, which is fine. I mean, the scientist guy probably is going to be important since he's talking about cloning and stuff. And, I guess that sort of ties into the sequel trilogy with like, isn't it clone, what's his face? The Emperor
Snoke.
And stuff. Yeah. Oh, Snoke, right? Yeah. That's what he did. Yeah. I didn't watch this. I only watched the first one. But, also, I feel like that guy should have been a little more sensitive. Obviously, they're gonna ban cloning because that's the thing that like almost that caused the Empire to come up. Yeah, of course they're not gonna be okay with cloning. Like, what are you talking about? Like, obviously, you can have good things in society or whatever. But like, the Order 66 probably happened like not even like 20 years ago, and you're talking about cloning. It's like, yeah, all right, what do you think is gonna happen? So, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to get into the last part of the show where we're going to review the HBO's The Last of Us, but obviously talk about the finale because we haven't talked about that yet. So, yeah, and once again, full spoilers. So, the finale, I mean, you know, obviously seeing discussion online with the, I guess, like, fucking anime only watchers that only watch the show that are like, oh my God, Joel did that. I'm like, I fucking loved every moment of it, man. I loved every single moment of when Joel killed the first guy and just did not give a shit. And then the music started playing and it just felt so eerie. And honestly, I felt so uncomfortable just watching Pedro Pascal just walk around the hospital and just gun dudes down and then be like, no, don't shoot me. And then he just kills them anyways. I'm like, I fucking love this show so much.
Yeah, I thought that scene was done really well. Like, you know, I was kind of surprised seeing how short the episode was compared to like the other episodes. Like you were saying last week, it was only like 45 minutes. But they really did everything they had to do, and they did it well. I don't know how this show paced itself so well, because I'm like, oh, they forgot about this and that. And then you forget, like, oh, I guess that's not important at all. Like, it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, the show really paced itself really well. And just the whole scene, the hospital scene of him killing everyone was done really well. Like, like you said, it felt very creepy. Like, he felt like dead inside. Like, he was just doing it out of like pure instinct and stuff. And yeah, I just thought it was done really well. Because I thought that was gonna be like most of the episode, but it was only like a few minutes. So yeah, it's crazy how well they did that in such little time, and really, I guess, had the feeling of what Joel was feeling during that point. You know, so.
And once again, the giraffe scene we did see. At first, I thought it was all CG, but they did actually get a giraffe.
It was like a blue screen thing. Like yeah. So the giraffe was actually there, and they were like, I think, actually interactive. So that was really cool, and I thought it looked really good too. You know, obviously that's a very important, you know, moment in this like franchise, because you know that's always shown up. So I'm really happy they did that scene justice. It was almost like an exact play by play of that scene as well. So I'm glad that this adaptation really like adapted like the really important scenes like perfectly. Like it's basically like 1-to-1 scenes, and I think that's really cool to see, you know.
Yeah, I think that overall, just like as like Last of Us 1 and like Last of Us Season 1, like it is really, really good. I think that in the beginning when they were adding a lot of those like new elements for us as like game, you know, players, and seeing this show, you know, like with the first episode sort of like setting up like the cordyceps thing on like that talk show host, and then giving us more backstory on Sarah, and then in episode 3 with Bill and everything like that. I think that a lot of those episodes were really, really good, just because, you know, those were sequences that we did not see in the game, but it gave us more of a reason to care about these characters once they were gone. And the closer we got to the finale and this final episode, it stuck a lot closer to the game, but at the same time changing certain aspects of it still. And, you know, seeing that, I guess like that scene in that moment when like Joel was like, I was the guy that missed, you know, and that was like the scar because he tried to kill himself. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, oh my God. Like that kind of just came out of nowhere. And I think that was like a beautiful, I guess, like circle just for like Ellie and Joel's relationship, where it was like, I got shot at and, you know, the guy missed. And then at the end, he just reveals that I was that guy. I was like, oh, fuck. Like that was really like emotional, because I was just like, okay, yeah, you know, like they're adding a lot of layers to Joel that weren't there before. And I think a lot of people had problems with him crying in, I forget which episode it was, but when they were in Tommy's town and everything, people had problems with that. But I was just like, they're just trying to make him more of a character, guys. Because like before, he was kind of just like running around, just like killing dudes and being like, are you okay? And then at the end, he's like, this is my daughter now.
Yeah, I think they did a lot better job humanizing Joel and like showing a lot more emotion in general. Because, you know, I felt like, you know, Troy Baker obviously did a good job voicing him and stuff. But, you know, I feel like Joel was never allowed to show that much emotion besides being like angry, I guess.
Yeah.
Like this one really showed a lot more range of emotion from Joel, and I really enjoyed that. I think Pedro Pascal did a great job as Joel, you know, just expressing all those emotions that weren't in the game to begin with. So yeah, I think it really adds more depth to his character. And that's why I hate when people say, oh, he's not allowed to cry. I'm like, why? that makes like zero sense.
Is it because he's a man? Like
yeah, like what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I guess that beginning scene with Ellie's mom,
Ashley Johnson,
was done, you know, really well. I don't know if is that new content. I don't know if that's in Last of Us Part 2.
That is brand new content.
Okay, yeah. So really cool, more cameos and stuff. But yeah, obviously I didn't need to see the whole baby baby coming out. But yeah, it was done really well, yeah, as well. Because Marlene still says that, like, I had Ellie since she was a baby and all that. I'm pretty sure she says that in the game too. But it's cool to like see it happen in game and how she took Ellie, as I guess as her own and stuff, and killed the mom because it's like, please kill me because I don't want to be infected and stuff. So I thought that stuff was really done really well. It was really cool to see her knife be used by her mom then given to her. Like, I think that was really cool as well, and I guess adds to just Ellie's character as a whole.
Yeah, it just adds to her backstory and sort of explains why she is immune, because it was kind of just like, oh, she's immune. And then we just had to like believe her. But giving us that scene where like, oh, look, Ellie's mom was bit. And then, she cut the umbilical cord and then lied to Marlene to be like, I did it right before it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, doubt. Yeah.
But obviously, it ended up being good, because she was able to live and, is now immune to the virus, which is kind of crazy to see how all of that happened. And just like the world building itself, I think that was like a huge plus for this show. I think some people are going to complain that there wasn't as much infected and they weren't really much as a threat within the show as much as the other people, which is just like how most zombie shows go as you go along with it. It's like, yeah, it really is like the other people in the world, and like the zombies are sort of like the other thing that you have to worry about. But I do agree that there could have been a little bit more infected at play, but I think that the moments that they did show up were like fucking huge and massive and really did play into why the characters were moving and why they had to do X, Y, and Z within those moments. And they obviously created a whole lot of chaos when they did show up. So
yeah, I guess it really shows like the story. I mean, the story was never about that to begin with. It's more about the human element anyway. And even in the game, because obviously the game switches from like you fight humans to infected, humans infected and stuff. But it kind of shows like a lot of the infected stuff were kind of like fillery gameplay stuff. And I'm like, I guess they were, huh? So yeah, I guess it didn't really matter in terms of the story. But yeah, it would be cool to see more of them in the future because I think the VFX for it was like really cool. So
yeah.
And I guess it also comes down to the whole discussion of like what Joel did was right and stuff because I've been seeing that everywhere again.
Yes.
Honestly, I think it just comes down to like having like Ellie's opinion and consent about it because I feel like Marlene was right in the end saying that Ellie would have wanted this, but I'm like, why can't you just ask her? I feel like all this could have been avoided, and I still think the Fireflies are mostly at fault for this. They should have just waited for both of them to be up, ask Ellie, hey, this surgery is going to kill you, but you can save all of humankind, because she probably would have said yes, and then they could have just brought it to Joel, be like, this is my decision, like, deal with it, and Joel would just have to respect it at that point. And if he kills everyone, then he's absolutely in the wrong. But I feel like the Fireflies, like, were too afraid she was going to say no and just did it anyway without any like asking anyone. They just basically took her and like, we're going to kill you now and do the surgery. So that's why I still feel like the Fireflies are still at fault for this because they knew what Joel was capable of. Marlene was like, oh, how did you run across the whole goddamn country? Like you're insane. So like they knew he was a dangerous guy. Then you're going to take away his not daughter. Like of course he's going to go berserk. So yeah, I definitely still feel like the Fireflies are at fault. Obviously Joel isn't right for killing literally everyone, like obviously that's not okay or whatever, but I feel like the Fireflies could handle that so much better without any of this happening. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. just saying, like I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I still remember playing the game in 2013, getting to the ending where Ellie says okay, and then it just cuts to black, and I'm like, that was it? I was like, holy fuck, what the hell just happened? And like I'm like looking up like IGN articles, like what does the ending mean? Like what the fuck did I just do? And it's like, I think I fully realized it once I got to like the second game. No spoilers for part 2, but just like, the world isn't as black and white as it is, and it's just about like people will do what they do because they feel like they need to do it to survive. And Joel felt like within that moment, it's like, I can't go through this shit again. I cannot lose my daughter again. So if I gotta kill everyone, fuck it, I'm gonna kill everyone. And did he do the right thing? Not necessarily. But I think that within the game, if I remember correctly, it was something about like time or something like that. Like they didn't have much time to like prep her into surgery or whatever. Like they were like rushing it for whatever reason. I don't remember why, but they were just rushing it. And like you said, if in a ideal world they could have just like consented to both of them and had like an actual like conversation about it, then we wouldn't have gotten the ending that we got. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. Joel killed everyone. Pedro Pascal really does a fantastic, phenomenal job of playing both sides, of being like that, like, psychopath that just fucking kills everyone, but also being like that dad figure who is a human at the end of the day. And seeing that all play out and having, seeing Pedro's, I guess, like mannerisms towards Ellie, grow, and, him try to interact with Ellie more, especially within this episode, with the whole Chef Boyardee thing and him, like, trying to like get her to talk and shit like that. Like, you can see that like he really does care about her now more than ever from when they obviously started. So, did Joel do the right thing? No, but he loved her, so is that okay? No, but
yeah, it's supposed to be like a great. It's like the stupid trolley problem. Is like, kill one person to kill like all of them or something.
Yeah.
So like, it's just kind of like that moral dilemma. So like, either way, it's gonna be a really great sort of scenario on who you side with. And again, I think both sides were wrong. Like, Joel should have not killed everyone, and the Firefly should have just done all this stuff without them telling them. But either way, I think Ellie was like mostly the victim in all this, because she didn't really have a say in anything. So yeah, that kind of sucks for her, especially because she was the one with the cure. Like, she should be the one making the decision. But either way, it's a really great situation. It was purposely written that way. So yeah, and obviously the effects come in Last of Us Part 2, which is gonna be very interesting to see how they adapt that. Because I personally think the show did such a good job. I think the show feels better than the game at this point. And I really like the game, because obviously I played it recently. I played the remake on PS5, and comparing this to the show, I think the show just does so much more for the characters and backstories and stuff, that I think it's honestly the best way to experience The Last of Us now, which is really weird to say, but I do think this adaptation, I think, surpasses the original, at least in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it, but
I mean, yeah, I'm feeling like they're a little bit on par with each other. Obviously, I'm going to have to wait and see until season 2 and 3 come out, because they did say that part 2 is going to take multiple seasons just because of how long that game is and how much of the story is really involved with that. So I wonder how that's all going to play out. But yeah, I think that this is definitely like one of the best adaptations a video game has ever seen, if not the best, just because The Last of Us was already like a really good story, and the fact that they were able to translate it on screen and add new elements to it, change it up a bit, give this character this thing, give this character that thing, and yeah, really just like let the story of The Last of Us shine, but also expand on it. And yeah, the show did a phenomenal job of doing that. It really executed it really, really well. I think that some of the complaints that people are having are definitely valid, if they are reasonable, in my opinion. I think that, if you say the pacing's a little too fast, I can see that, and certain complaints like that. But, overall, I cannot wait to see how they adapt part 2, just because part 2 is definitely the more controversial game. Yeah. So I wonder how they're going to set up season 2 and 3, because like I said, it's going to take multiple seasons. So I wonder how they're going to introduce these new characters, introduce these new storylines, and everything like that. And obviously, when fucking Joel killed that doctor, he kind of just did it like no remorse at all, which I think is fucking great. Because within the game, it was a option, and now that they sort of implemented it within the story for part 2, not to like give it away or anything, but implementing that into part 2, it's like, okay, well, we're going to have to re-see that scene again and see how that affects everything that's going to happen within part 2. And I cannot wait to see how it all plays out, because I think today Neil Druckmann and Pedro Pascal were spotted at a coffee shop within LA. So obviously they're talking, or maybe they're just hanging out with friends, just as friends, coworkers and shit like that. So, but yeah, I cannot wait to see.
I'm not going to say it because it's kind of spoilery.
I cannot wait to see how they do part 2, because I think that story was really, really good. I think that just the execution and how it was presented to the audience was just not what they wanted or what they expected.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, I think they did a fantastic job. I think this is going to be the gold standard for most video game adaptations at this point. Like straight adaptations, I mean. I know Arcane exists and stuff, but that's more of its own thing. Like, it's not really adapting much, like, of it, like, besides just the world. This one's just, like, animates a manga, how it is. So, I think they did a great job with this. Hopefully all the other Sony projects, because they're making a lot now. It's like a Ghost of Tsushima movie now or something. God of War series, a Horizon series. they have a lot to live up to compared to this, and I really don't think they're gonna be as good as this. But just because The Last of Us translates so well into like a TV series, like especially like one with like, this much budget, so it's gonna be very hard for them to top this, I think.
Especially since because there have been other zombie adaptations like The Walking Dead and stuff like that, where they were not able to pull from those, but just to I guess like look at those shows and be like, all right, well, those things worked, and obviously these things worked within The Last of Us. So now, how can we, sort of mesh everything together into our show? And obviously, it worked out.
Yeah. Plus, I guess a zombie show is also easier to sell than any of the. Ghost of Tsushima might do well because samurais are cool, but God of War and Horizon, I'm gonna be like, what the hell is this? So yeah, it's gonna be a little harder to like sell those, I guess. But Last of Us was just a perfect storm to like be like a hit show, and it was really goddamn good. So hopefully season 2 is good and beyond, because Last of Us Part 2 is kind of controversial. So hopefully they could fix up things for that game. I know Druckmann said he's not really going to do any big changes. I think he said he's going to be mostly the same. But hopefully they add stuff like Part 1 did, where it's like, oh, here's like a bunch of cool stuff that gives you more context for stuff and makes you feel more for these characters. I think that would help Part 2's a lot, because I know some people have some issues with some characters in that game, so we shall see.
Yeah, and is there anything else you'd like to add, good Saw?
No, that's everything.
All right, so that is it from us. Thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 109. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.